Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev, two names that echo through the world of MMA like legends carved into stone. One, an undefeated champion who walked away at the peak of his dominance. The other, a relentless warrior, following the same path but carving his own legacy. But what if they had met in battle? Not in the gym, not as mentor and student, but inside the octagon, under the bright lights, with everything on the line. A fight that never happened. A fight that should have never happened. But in a world where destiny can be rewritten, where fantasy and reality blur, anything is possible. The arena is packed, a roaring sea of voices shaking the very foundations of the building. Cameras flash, the air charged with electricity. This isn't just any fight. This is the moment the world never thought it would witness. Khabib, the undefeated king, returns from his self-imposed exile. Islam, his protege, the reigning champion, stands in his way. There's no belt on the line tonight, only pride, only legacy. The crowd isn't divided. They don't know who to cheer for. They're witnessing something that shouldn't exist, a paradox of fate, a war between two men bound by the same bloodline of warriors. Khabib walks out first, his face unreadable, a silent storm brewing beneath the surface. The man who dominated every opponent, who never allowed himself to be broken, is now stepping into uncharted territory. The undefeated legend against the one who was supposed to carry his torch. He doesn't look at the crowd, doesn't acknowledge the deafening chants. His focus is locked. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about proving a point. This is something deeper, something neither man has spoken about, but both have always known. Islam follows, his expression cold, his jaw clenched. The younger man, the student, the heir to the throne. He's no longer the shadow standing behind his mentor. He is his own man now, the one who conquered the division in Khabib's absence. But tonight, none of that matters. His body moves with the precision of a man who has trained for this moment his entire life, even if he never dared to admit it. Because deep down, every fighter knows the only way to be the best is to defeat the best. The octagon door slams shut. The world watches in silence. Coaches, teammates, family, everyone who has ever stood by them remain frozen outside the cage, powerless to stop what's about to unfold. For years, they trained together, pushed each other, sharpened their skills in the same fire. But now, there are no words, no friendly embraces, no shared glances of understanding. Only two men, standing across from each other, knowing that when the fight is over, something will change forever. The referee steps in, his voice cutting through the tension. The rules don't need to be explained. They know them better than anyone. But for the first time, there's hesitation. Not from the fighters, from everyone else. As if they're witnessing history unravel into something unnatural, something that shouldn't be. The past and present colliding in a way that defies logic. The bell rings. Khabib moves forward, his pressure immediate, his presence suffocating. He's always been a force of nature, an avalanche that buries his opponents before they even realize what's happening. But Islam isn't like the others. He doesn't backpedal. He stands his ground. Their first exchange is subtle, calculated, a silent test between two men who know every inch of each other's game. A feint, a reaction, a measured counter. No wasted movement. No unnecessary risks. Then the storm erupts. Khabib shoots in, lightning fast, the takedown everyone has feared for years. But Islam anticipates it, his defense instinctive, honed by endless hours of battling this very attack. He sprawls, counters, grips tight. The crowd holds its breath. For the first time, Khabib meets resistance that doesn't crumble under his pressure. The struggle is brutal, primal, a war of strength and skill. Islam reverses. A flicker of something crosses Khabib's face. Not frustration. Not surprise. Just acknowledgement. The fight has truly begun. Islam adjusts his stance, his movements precise, calculated. He knows Khabib's game better than anyone, but knowing and stopping it are two different things. The weight of history is pressing down on them both, heavier than the roar of the crowd. Khabib is relentless, his grip like iron, his positioning perfect. But for the first time in his career, he isn't facing an opponent who is drowning under his pressure. Islam isn't just surviving, he's countering, matching every move, every transition. The octagon feels smaller, the air thicker, as if the fight has pulled the entire world into this moment. Outside the cage, their team watches in silence. Javier Mendez, the coach who shaped them both, doesn't cheer, doesn't instruct. His face is unreadable, torn between pride and unease. He trained them to dominate, to break opponents, but never each other. What happens when two unstoppable forces collide? What happens when family turns into rivals, even for a night? The lines are blurred now, but deep down, they all know this is more than a fight. This is a question that has lingered in the back of their minds for years, an unspoken challenge neither man ever dared to voice. Khabib presses forward again, his chain wrestling seamless, but Islam is ready. He shifts his weight, slides out of danger, and counters with a trip of his own. The reversal is swift, clean, almost poetic in its execution. Khabib lands on his back, a sight no one is used to seeing. The crowd erupts. It's a small victory, a momentary shift, but it speaks volumes. Islam isn't just following in Khabib's footsteps anymore. He's carving his own path, proving that he isn't a shadow of his mentor, he is his equal. The tension in the air is suffocating. Every second that passes feels like an eternity. They scramble, adjust, trade positions with an intensity that has never been seen before. Every time one gains an inch, the other takes it back. The battle is unfolding like a perfect storm, technical, brutal, beautiful. It's more than skill, more than strength. It's willpower. It's legacy. The first round ends, but neither man returns to their corner looking defeated. They stare at each other, breathing heavily, eyes burning with the same unshakable determination. There is no anger between them, no hatred, only a silent understanding this is exactly what it was always meant to be. The second round begins, and the striking exchanges start to unfold. Khabib, known for his suffocating grappling, shows no hesitation in throwing hands. He steps in, launches a looping right hand, and Islam barely slips it. The crowd reacts to every movement, every feint, as if they're witnessing something sacred. Islam fires back with a crisp 1-2, his boxing sharper, refined. The difference in their styles is evident. Khabib fights like a storm wild, aggressive, relentless. Islam fights like a sniper, precise, methodical, efficient. But then Khabib does something unexpected. He smiles. Just for a second. It's not arrogance, not mockery. It's recognition. This isn't just a fight. This is their story coming full circle. The student has caught up to the master, but the master isn't done teaching yet. Islam closes the distance, looking to capitalize, but Khabib is already one step ahead. He ducks, shoots low, And this time, he gets the takedown. The crowd roars as Islam's back hits the canvas, and for the first time, a flicker of urgency crosses his face. Khabib wastes no time, securing position, pressing down, making Islam feel every ounce of pressure. He's been here 1,000 times before, but now he's not the one coaching from the sidelines. He's not the one giving instructions. He's the one forcing Islam to endure. Time slows. Islam stays calm, breathing steady, his mind racing through every escape route, every counter. He's trained for this, prepared for this, but knowing it's coming doesn't make it any easier. Khabib tightens his grip, adjusting his weight just slightly, cutting off angles, suffocating space. The crowd is on their feet. Even those who wanted this fight don't know what they're hoping for anymore. From the corner, a voice cuts through the noise. Stay patient. It's not Javier. It's not a coach. It's someone who has been with them since the beginning. Someone who understands what this means better than anyone. Abdulmanap's voice isn't there, but his presence lingers. His teachings live in both of them, guiding them even now. This was never about proving who was better. It was about something deeper. Islam shifts, his muscles burning, his mind locked in a battle just as fierce as the one playing out in the octagon. He knows what's coming next. Khabib, setting up a transition, inching toward full control. If he doesn't move now, it might be too late. But then, just as the moment arrives, just as Khabib starts to advance, Islam reacts. A sudden explosion of movement. A reversal. The crowd gasps. For the first time, Khabib is the one in danger. The reversal happens so fast that, for a moment, even Khabib seems caught off guard. 1 second, he's pressing down, controlling the pace as he always has, and the next, Islam explodes out, using a technique so seamless, so perfectly timed, that it almost feels like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. The crowd erupts as Islam ends up on top, his weight heavy, his grip firm. But this isn't just a shift in position, it's a shift in power. The unstoppable force has been stopped. And Khabib, the man who has dominated every opponent, suddenly finds himself in unfamiliar territory. The energy in the arena changes. The voices in the crowd swell with disbelief and excitement. This was never supposed to be easy, but no one expected Khabib to be the one under pressure. Islam keeps his control tight, his breathing steady, his mind clear. He knows he can't waste this moment. He's seen Khabib escape from impossible positions before, turn the tables with terrifying speed. If he lets even a sliver of space open up, the fight could shift again. Khabib doesn't panic. He never does. But there's something different in his eyes now. Not fear, not frustration, but something deeper. A realization. He had always believed Islam was ready. Always told the world that his protege was the next champion. But until this moment, he had never truly felt it. This isn't a friendly spar. This isn't mentor versus student. This is something else entirely. For the first time in his career, he's looking up at an opponent he trained himself, an opponent who knows every trick, every habit, every instinct he has. And that opponent isn't backing down. Islam shifts his weight, looking to advance, and Khabib reacts instantly, attempting to explode up. But Islam anticipates it, adjusts, and traps Khabib's arm in a position that forces him to stay grounded. The realization spreads through the crowd like wildfire. Islam isn't just surviving, he's controlling the fight. He's keeping Khabib exactly where he wants him. And for the first time, The question that had always lingered in whispers is spoken out loud in the minds of everyone watching. Could Islam actually win? But just as the momentum seems to solidify, just as the fight starts to feel like it's shifting in Islam's favor, something happens that no one could have predicted. A crack in the rhythm. A split-second miscalculation. Islam moves to advanced position, his focus razor-sharp, but Khabib does something completely uncharacteristic. He lets it happen. Not because he's lost control, not because he's broken, but because he's setting a trap. The moment Islam moves, Khabib springs the counter. He shifts his hips, sweeps his leg, and in a blink, the roles reverse. The crowd barely has time to react before Khabib is on top, pressing Islam against the canvas with a force that sends a shockwave through the octagon. The reversal is brutal, effortless, like a reminder that he is still the man who never lost, still the force of nature that no one could stop. Islam grits his teeth, his body tensing under the weight. He knows he made a mistake, even if it was just for a second. Against anyone else, he would have recovered. But against Khabib, that second was all it took. The pace accelerates, Khabib's pressure suffocating, his control like a vice. The crowd is on its feet, the tension unbearable. Then, something even more unexpected happens. Khabib isn't just looking to control anymore. He's looking to finish. He transitions, slipping his arm under Islam's neck, locking in a choke with the kind of precision that only years of dominance can perfect. The octagon feels like it's holding its breath. Islam's body tenses, his hands fighting against the grip. For the first time in his career, he's in real danger, not just from any fighter, but from him. From the man who molded him into what he is today. But this isn't just a fight. It never was. And Islam isn't finished yet. Islam's vision narrows, the weight of Khabib's arm tightening around his neck like an iron vice. The crowd is on their feet, the energy in the arena at a breaking point. Everyone knows what happens when Khabib locks in a choke. No one has ever escaped. No one has ever broken free. This is the moment. The inevitable end. But then, against all logic, against all expectations, Islam doesn't tap. His body tenses, his hands fight against the grip, and somewhere deep in his mind, a single thought keeps him going. Not like this. With the last surge of strength he can summon, Islam adjusts, shifts his weight, and rolls, twisting his body just enough to create a sliver of space. It's not much, but it's enough to breathe. Enough to survive. The crowd gasps as he peels Khabib's arm away, breaking the choke in a way no one thought possible. In an instant, he counters, his body moving on instinct, reversing the position once again. Now it's Islam on top, his hands locked, his weight crushing down. The impossible has happened. Khabib struggles, but for the first time in his career, he's the one trapped, the one struggling to escape. His body is strong, his will unbreakable, but Islam is younger, faster, and fueled by something different. The student is caught up to the master, and the master knows it. For a brief moment, Khabib stops struggling. It's not defeat. It's understanding. He has spent years shaping Islam into a fighter who could take his place, and now that moment has arrived. Islam doesn't hesitate. He secures the position, tightens his grip, and locks in his own submission hold. The crowd is deafening, the tension unbearable. Khabib resists, every muscle in his body fighting against it, but deep down, he knows this is it. He exhales sharply, his mind flashing back to every fight, every moment that led him here. His father's voice echoes in his memory. There is always a time to lead and a time to let go. Then, In front of the entire world, the impossible happens. Khabib raises his hand and taps. Silence. A beat of disbelief before the arena explodes into chaos. The man who never lost, the undefeated champion, the legend has just been defeated. By his own student. By the very man he trained to carry his legacy forward. Islam stumbles back, his chest rising and falling with exhaustion, his mind struggling to process what just happened. The referee steps in, waving his hands, officially ending the fight. Khabib sits up slowly, his face unreadable. The weight of history is pressing down on them both, but there is no anger, no disappointment, only respect. The crowd continues to roar as Islam and Khabib lock eyes. For a moment, neither man speaks. Then Khabib nods, a small but powerful gesture that says more than words ever could. He reaches out, and Islam takes his hand, helping him to his feet. The past and the future stand together, side by side. The unexpected twist isn't in the result, it's in what happens next. Khabib takes the microphone, his voice calm but firm. He looks at Islam, then at the crowd, and delivers a statement that sends shockwaves through the arena. "This was my last fight." Gasps ripple through the audience. The commentators are stunned. No one saw this coming. Khabib isn't just acknowledging his first loss, he's choosing to walk away. He smiles slightly, looking at Islam, the message clear. His time is over. The torch has been passed. Islam stands in silence, the realization sinking in. He didn't just win a fight. He didn't just defeat a legend. He became the new one. And as Khabib steps back, raising Islam's hand for the world to see, the arena erupts in a thunderous ovation. The legacy lives on, but now it belongs to a new king.